Position says, you think you're poor because you don't work hard enough. That's the lie they want you to believe. The truth is far more disturbing. You're poor because you're in the wrong position, and every day you stay there. The system is designed to keep you exactly where you are. This isn't about motivation. This isn't about mindset. This is about power, and power has rules you were never taught. In 1513, Machiavelli wrote, "The prince, while in exile, broke and forgotten. He understood something that most people will never grasp in their entire lives. He understood that the world doesn't reward the hardest worker. It rewards the person in the best position. And position, once secured, compounds. The rich don't get richer because they're smarter than you. They get richer because they occupy positions that make wealth inevitable. You, on the other hand, occupy a position that makes poverty inevitable. And until you understand this, you'll keep spinning your wheels, wondering why nothing changes. Let me show you how deep this goes. When you work a job, you trade time for money. 1 hour, 1 payment. You stop working, the money stops. This is what Machiavelli would call the position of the servant. The servant's position is structurally designed to prevent accumulation. You are not building. You are maintaining, and maintenance is the opposite of growth. The rich, however, occupy what we'll call the position of the architect. The architect doesn't trade time for money. The architect builds systems that generate money, whether they're present or not. One designs the machine, the other is a cog inside it. And here's the part that will disturb you. The system needs you to stay the cog. Because the moment you understand position, you become dangerous. Think about a chessboard. A pawn and a queen are both pieces, but their positions dictate entirely different realities. The pawn can only move forward, 1 square at a time, trapped by the rules of its position. The queen moves in all directions as far as she wants. Same board. Different worlds. You are the pawn, convinced that if you just move forward long enough, you'll become powerful. But the board was designed by queens, and queens don't become queens by moving like pawns. They occupy positions of strategic dominance from the beginning. This is Machiavelli's insight. Position precedes power, and power protects position. The middle class is the most elaborate trap ever constructed. It gives you just enough to feel like you're winning, but never enough to actually be free. You get the house with the mortgage, the car with the payment, the salary with the taxes. You feel successful because you're not at the bottom, but you're spending everything you make to maintain the appearance of success. This is positional quicksand. The harder you work to climb, the deeper you sink, because the middle class position is designed to extract maximum productivity while preventing capital accumulation. You are a revenue stream for banks, corporations, and governments. And the sickest part, you think this is normal. You think this is just how life works. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Machiavelli observed that men judge more by their eyes than by their hands. What he meant is this: people believe in appearances, not reality. The rich understand this at a cellular level. They don't just accumulate wealth. They accumulate the appearance of legitimacy, authority, and inevitability. Once you occupy a position that looks powerful, the world treats you as if you are powerful, and that treatment becomes self-fulfilling. You, however, occupy a position that looks ordinary, so the world treats you as ordinary, and that treatment ensures you remain ordinary. Position shapes perception. Perception shapes opportunity. Opportunity shapes outcome. This is the loop that runs your life, and you didn't even know it existed. Let's talk about leverage. The poor trade their own labor for money. One body, one income. The middle class might manage a small team, multiplying their output slightly. But the rich own the system that thousands of people work inside. They don't leverage their own time. They leverage your time. They leverage entire populations. One landlord owns 100 apartments. One CEO controls 10,000 employees. One investor owns shares in 1,000 companies. This is positional leverage, and it's exponential. You work 40 hours a week. They extract value from 40,000 hours a week without lifting a finger. And the system is structured so that you never even think to ask how that's possible. Here's where it gets psychological. You've been conditioned to believe that wealth is a reward for virtue. Work hard, be honest, follow the rules, and you'll be rewarded. This is the most effective lie ever sold, because it makes poverty feel like a moral failure. If you're not rich, it must be because you're lazy or stupid or unlucky. But Machiavelli knew better. He knew that fortune favors the positioned, not the virtuous. The rich are not more moral than you. They're better positioned. And once you're in the right position, the universe conspires to keep you there. Banks give you loans, investors give you capital, opportunities find you, doors open. This isn't magic. It's structural advantage, and it's invisible to people outside the position. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. But he was writing from the position of an emperor. Easy to be stoic when you have absolute power. The Stoic philosophy you've been sold is a tool of control. It teaches you to accept your position, to find peace in your struggle, to stop resisting. Meanwhile, the people selling you stoicism are busy repositioning themselves into wealth and power. They want you calm. They want you accepting. Because an angry, repositioning population is a threat to the entire structure. Let me give you a frame that will change how you see everything. In nature, there are keystone species. Remove them, and the entire ecosystem collapses. Beavers, for example. They build dams. Those dams create wetlands. Those wetlands support hundreds of other species. The beaver isn't working harder than the frog. The beaver is in a keystone position. One action, massive ripple effect. In human systems, there are keystone positions. People who occupy them don't work harder. They exert disproportionate influence. They control resources, access, information, capital. And once you control the keystone, you control the ecosystem. You are not in a keystone position. You are in a dependent position. And every day you stay there, your energy is being siphoned to maintain someone else's empire. Now, here's the twist that most people miss. You can't brute force your way into a keystone position. The system is designed to prevent that. If you try to climb the ladder, they'll just make the ladder taller. You have to think like Machiavelli. You have to see the board, not the pieces. You have to identify where the power flows, where the leverage points are, and how to reposition yourself outside the traditional channels. This is why the rich don't work jobs. They create assets. Assets are positions that generate income without your continuous presence. A business, a patent, a brand, real estate, intellectual property. These are positional tools. They work while you sleep because they occupy economic space that extracts value from the system. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. The system doesn't just want you in a bad position. It wants you to believe that position doesn't matter. It wants you to believe in the meritocracy myth, that anyone can make it if they just try hard enough. This is the ultimate gaslighting. Because the moment you accept that your failure is your fault, you stop looking at the structure. You stop questioning the board. You internalize the hierarchy as natural, even divine. And that internalization is the chain that keeps you locked in place. The rich know this. That's why they fund the motivational speakers, the self-help gurus, the productivity coaches. Keep you focused on yourself. Keep you working on your mindset. Because the moment you start working on your position, the game changes. Here's a historical example that will clarify everything. In medieval Europe, you had lords and serfs. The serf worked the land. The lord owned the land. The serf could work 18 hours a day and still remain a serf. The lord could do nothing and remain a lord. Why? Position. The serf's position was structurally incapable of generating wealth accumulation. Everything the serf produced went to survival or to the lord. The lord's position automatically accumulated wealth because it extracted surplus from everyone beneath it. Now, you think we've moved past this. You think we're more advanced. But the structure is identical. You are the serf. Your landlord, your employer, your bank, the government, they are the lords. Different words, same positions, same outcomes. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Why? Because fear is a positional tool. If you occupy a position where people fear the consequences of opposing you, you don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to be liked. The position does the work. Love is voluntary. Fear is structural. This is why the powerful don't care if you like them. They care that you need them. Need is the ultimate position of power. You need your job. You need your credit. You need the system. And as long as you need it, you're in a subordinate position, and subordinate positions do not accumulate power. They bleed it. Let's go deeper into psychology. There's a concept called learned helplessness. You put a dog in a cage and shock it randomly. Eventually, even when you open the cage door, the dog won't leave. It has learned that escape is impossible. You are that dog. You've been shocked by the system so many times. Layoffs, rejections, bills, failure, that even when opportunity presents itself, you won't take it. You've learned your position, and you defend it unconsciously. This is why people stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, cities that limit them. Not because they have to, because their psychology has adapted to their position. And their position has become their identity. But here's what Machiavelli understood that most don't. Position can be taken. It's not given. It's not earned through virtue. It's seized through strategy, timing, and ruthlessness. The rich didn't wait for permission. They identified positions of leverage and occupied them. They started businesses that became monopolies. They bought assets before anyone realized they'd appreciate. They networked into circles of power. They understood that the rules are for people in low positions. When you occupy a high position, you write the rules. And this is the game you're not playing. You're following rules written by people in positions you'll never reach unless you stop playing their game and start playing Machiavelli's. Think about information. The poor get their information last. By the time a trend reaches you, the rich have already positioned themselves to profit from it. They knew about the housing crash before you did. They knew about the tech boom, the crypto surge, the pandemic market collapse. Not because they're psychic, because they occupy positions where information flows first. They're in the rooms where decisions are made. They're at the tables where deals are structured. You're reading the news. They're making the news. This is positional information asymmetry, and it's one of the most powerful wealth generation tools that exists. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. You are not just in a bad position. You are in a position that is actively designed to deteriorate. Inflation erodes your savings. Taxes take your income. Interest compounds against you. Your job becomes automated. Your skills become obsolete. Your energy decreases with age. The position you occupy is on a downward slope, and the longer you stay, the steeper it gets. Meanwhile, the rich occupy positions on an upward slope. Their assets appreciate. Their networks expand. Their influence grows. Their wealth compounds. Time is your enemy and their ally. And this asymmetry is not accidental. It's engineered. The system needs a base of people in deteriorating positions to extract value from. That base is you. Now, let's talk about fear. You're afraid to reposition, afraid to quit your job, afraid to start the business, afraid to take the risk. And that fear is rational because your current position is precarious. You're one paycheck away from disaster. But here's the paradox. The fear that keeps you in your position is the same fear that ensures your position never improves. You're afraid of falling, so you cling to the branch you're on. But the branch is rotting. The only way to survive is to jump to a better branch, and that requires letting go. The rich understand this. They take risks, but from positions where failure isn't fatal. They have safety nets, capital, networks, knowledge. You're risking everything because you have nothing. That's why repositioning feels so terrifying. But it's the only path. Machiavelli said, "Fortune is the arbiter of half the things we do, leaving the other half to be controlled by ourselves." What he meant is that luck plays a role, but position determines how much luck you can capture. If you're in a position with no upside, luck can't save you. If you're in a position with massive upside, even moderate luck makes you wealthy. The rich reposition themselves into high upside environments, startups, investments, emerging markets. They play in arenas where a single win changes everything. You play in arenas where a single loss destroys you. Same world, different games, and the game you're playing is rigged. Here's the final layer. The people who benefit most from you staying in your position are the ones who will give you the most advice to stay there. Your family will tell you to be realistic. Your friends will tell you to play it safe. Society will tell you to follow the path. Why? Because your repositioning threatens their worldview. If you succeed by breaking the rules they followed, it means they wasted their lives. So they'll sabotage you, not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. They need you to fail so they can feel okay about their own positions. This is the crab bucket. When one crab tries to escape, the others pull it back down. Not because they hate it, because they can't imagine escape is possible. So what do? You study position like a science. You identify where leverage exists in your industry, your market, your life. You stop trading time for money and start building systems that trade other people's time for your money. You acquire assets. You learn skills that position you as irreplaceable. You network into circles where power is concentrated. You stop asking for permission and start taking space. You become Machiavellian in your strategy, not cruel, but clear-eyed about how power actually works. You accept that the world rewards position, not virtue, and you reposition accordingly. This isn't easy. It's not supposed to be. If it were easy, everyone would do it, and then the positions would be crowded. The barrier to repositioning is psychological, not practical. You have to kill the part of you that believes the lie, the part that thinks hard work is enough, the part that thinks the system is fair, the part that thinks you're where you are because of who you are, rather than where you are. Once you kill that, you're free, and freedom is the most dangerous thing a person in your position can achieve. You think you're poor because you don't work hard enough. That's the lie they want you to believe. The truth is you're poor because you're in the wrong position. And now you know. The question is, what are you going to do about it?